Well, hello my friends, and happy Sunday to you. It's Shawn Petite. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Look at this beauty we're creating. Here are the supplies that we'll be using. This large butterfly will be available to you in the resource library, and then the rest of these papers that I'm going to be using today are all part of collage packs, and they will be on sale this week, as well as the stencils that I use in today's video. So I've got my papers lined out here, and I love these papers. These are from the Vintage Butterfly collage pack. And I'm just putting them down with my Jerry's fluid matte medium and getting a good coverage. I'm working on a 12 by 12 MDF board. And I'm just getting my papers down with my matte medium, getting a good coverage, top and bottom, so that it's ready for all of the layers that comes next. All of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description box. So now that everything's dry, I am using it's a light gray by Lucas. It's acrylic paint. And I just really wanted to do a wash. I want to make sure that all of the papers show up because it really adds to the story, to the meaning, to the piece itself. And so I want those papers to show up, and yet I want to push them back just a little bit. And so I'm using some of that gray, and I've just added some water to it to do a wash. So now that it's dry, I'm going to put my butterfly down. And this is a vintage butterfly that I have in several of the collage packs, and I just enlarged it, but I will have it large for you in the resource library if you want to try and complete this project. So I'm mixing two colors, it's a rose, I believe it's rose and the light gray together. And what I want to do is I want to just kind of block out that one side of the butterfly wing so that I have a good base for the flowers and stenciling and that kind of thing. I want to bring that color over into the other side so that it flows and that it works well together, just to add that same color and theme to the butterfly. I don't want to completely cover everything up. I wanted to intensify the red as well and add some of that quinacridone magenta and rose and carmine colors that I use for the stenciling and the other flowers. So I brought that color over into the butterfly where it was already kind of red, but it was kind of an orangey red, and I wasn't feeling it. So I just kind of jazzed it up a little bit with a little bit of watered down paint. And again, all of the supplies that I use will be listed on the blog. So I'm just adding that to the butterfly wing here and there, and just kind of fussing with it and playing with it and seeing what feels right. Adding some darker red to that middle part and adding a little bit of lighter color. I picked up some gesso and some gray in there as well, and just really kind of bringing some of that red over. So now I'm using the bouquet of flowers stencil, and the flowers are for the background, just to kind of give me some base, to give me some filler for the collage elements that I'll be using. And it really helps start the process. It starts the creative process. I'm mixing some of the red and a little bit of yellow to create a little bit of orange. I'm just kind of playing to see what feels good, what looks good, and I know some of the flowers that I'll be using for the collage element, so I'm picking up some of those colors that are in the flowers as well. This is the pattern 5 flowers stencil, and just again, I'm bringing some of those flowers over to the other side so that it doesn't feel lopsided, so that it keeps the eye moving around the piece. It adds interest and just really unifies the piece when you kind of bring those elements to the other side, whatever you're doing, whether it's on a butterfly or a regular piece, just really working to balance the piece out. I'm trying to stay within the design of the butterfly and yet still have tiny bits here and there sticking out. I did leave kind of the black around the edge of the butterfly wing so that I would have a guide, and so that it would kind of stick out as well in the process. So I want to add some greenery and some leaves, and really these again are just the backdrop for the whole piece. They're just going to be bits and pieces of it sticking out, and I don't know where yet, so I'm just kind of adding to it as it feels right to balance it out. And then, you know, some will get covered up, some will just peek through, and that's really what it's about. Every layer as you create balanced and kind of as it looks in the moment, and then as you add the next layer, it changes. I'm using olive green from Lucas. All the Lucas paints that I'll be using will be listed. And that again was the bouquet of flowers stencil. So now I've got all of my vintage lovely flowers cut out, and I've got them arranged in a way that I feels balanced. I've got some variety of color so that there's interest, and I've got them kind of spread out so that again those colors move around the piece so that it feels balanced and not lopsided. And I'm just going to put those down with my Jerry's fluid acrylic. And all of these flowers again are part of a collage pack that will be listed and will be on sale this week. So once I get all of the flowers down, I will then put matte medium all over the piece because it evens out the surface so that everything is the same. Matte medium's got a little bit of a grit ground to it, so that any other materials like pencil or that kind of thing will work really well. It's not shiny or glossy. So I just create an even palette all the way around by covering the entire piece with matte medium. So now I'm going to come in and just add my own bits of flowers here and there. I put the darkest colors down first for my base, and then I will come back over and add highlights. I'm using short, small brush strokes, nothing too fancy, nothing too difficult, super easy, tiny little flowers to just add some additional color and interest. And as I start doing this, all of the flowers look the same, but then I will add highlights and different colors to them to add variety, to bring in interest. And so as I kind of get my initial colors down, I will add some gesso, I will add some purple, just to really add some depth, dimension, and interest to each of the flowers. So at this point, all of my flowers are looking very much the same. And so I kind of let them rest a little bit so that I can figure out what colors or different things I need. I'm adding little tiny white flowers. We need that pop of white in a piece to neutralize, to add interest, to add brightness, again, to keep the eye moving around. So I'm adding tiny little bits of white, and I'm just using my gesso. And then I'll come back and really add some other colors to the flowers to make them stand out, because right now they all look the same. So I'm darkening up the middles with a little bit of purple, and now this is purple. And when I started adding the colors, it was too dark. So I'll come back in with some gesso and lighten that up a bit, and it helps balance the piece out and really makes those flowers kind of different. Adding my drops here for some interest and some drama, and it's also part of the story, that transformation process. And it's a great story. I hope you stick around for that conversation at the end. But adding my drips and my drops, and sometimes less is more. And so I pulled one of those lines back because it felt like it was too much. So I'm just darkening up the edges here, and this is watered down raw umber. And again, I'm really working hard to keep those papers showing. And I have a hard time because I love the layers. But I wanted it to feel aged and antiqued. And so I'm doing what I like to do as it's like a stain. And I just take my raw umber with a lot of water and just kind of drop it around the piece. And you'll see that in just a second. So here I'm just kind of, it's super watery. And I'm just kind of dropping that around the piece here and there. And then I dry it. And I start drying it. And just before it's really all the way dry, I'll start picking up the leftovers. And it looks tea stained. And I love this effect. And then if it's too dark, I can come back in with just a little bit of water because it's not completely set yet, and pull some of that up. And what you are left with is the rings of where it has already started to dry. And it's just a wonderful effect and looks very tea stained or coffee stained. It's just beautiful. So I'm just adding my charcoal pencil now, adding some shading all the way around the piece, adding some stems, some leaves, some lines within the leaves. Just really adding the character, the depth, and dimension with my charcoal pencil. And this is a General's charcoal pencil in extra soft. It is always attached to my fingers usually as I'm creating because I love the effect that charcoal makes and how it makes everything stand out and stand away from the background and really pop. And so I will go around every single flower, all of the areas with a tiny bit of charcoal. And then in some areas I want a little bit more depth in the corners and the crevices. And so I go a little bit darker. I just printed out my quote, and my quote is such a good one. I can't wait to share with you what transformation means for me, and hopefully it'll encourage you. So definitely stick around for the conversation at the end. Just a few splatters, and then a few more. I just kind of finesse things a little bit as we finish up the piece. Add some additional charcoal around the edges. And that is it, my friends. Super fun. I just love this. She's a beauty. Again, all the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description box. Stick around for the conversation at the end. And if you enjoyed today's project, I hope that you subscribe and like and share and all those good things so that you never miss a video. And don't hesitate to ask a question. I always try to answer questions with regards to technique or products and that kind of thing, but I do try to list all of the products as well. Down below in the YouTube description box is the link to the blog. All right, my friends, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Well, hello loves and happy Sunday to you. Oh, I have been dreaming of this piece for a very long time. It all came together and I'll share all of that in a second. So the butterfly will be free to you in the resource library, and then all of the other papers are from collage packs, and I'll have those specific collage packs listed and they will be on sale. The stencils that I used today, let's see, I used 4 stencils. Those ones that I used today will be on sale as well. Now, when I turned the camera off, I did add a couple of things. I just made a couple of the flowers a little whiter. I needed them to be just a little bit brighter, and then I added my numbers, and the reason being is I needed that black to kind of carry over into this side, and numbers always have a meaning for me, and I'll kind of talk about that in a second. So I think that is the stencils, and the collage packs will be on sale, and the butterfly will be in the resource library. Okay, so the quote says, "Transformation is not a future event. It is an everyday exercise." Transformation is something that happens to us every day if we allow it, if we're looking for it, if we're wanting it. And I think we are transforming even if we're not looking for it, and even if we're not wanting it. I think that it happens because we are different from day to day. From what we experienced yesterday, at least I hope that I'm different. I take what I've learned from yesterday and I apply it to the new day, and I learn lessons, and I grow in skills and wisdom and all of those things. And so that was this butterfly, this transforming into this beautiful, although beautiful butterfly is already an active transformation from the caterpillar to the beautiful butterfly that it is, and then to even more growth and beauty. And that's what the flower is representing, the leaves and all of those things. And then the numbers also represent, let me grab my real quick so I can remember here. So I love looking up the meaning of numbers. They just have always been part of my art. It's just one of those things. And so 2 is union, and I think about union of ourselves and our soul, and being comfortable with who we are and allowing ourselves to transform. 3 is wholeness, that transformation into working on. It's a constant progression. It's just never like done. It's always it's an exercise and a practice every day of transforming to wholeness. Are we ever there? I don't think so. I really don't. Let's see. 5 is grace, and I think that in that process of grace, or in that process of transformation and doing the work and doing the practice and doing the exercise, we've got to allow ourselves grace in the process. Some days are messy and ugly, and things are all over the place, and it just maybe doesn't look like what we thought. The transformation process and our journey, it's a journey, and it's not always nice and neat and in the lines. It's all over the place with things dripping out, and I mean, that's just life. And so we need to allow ourselves grace. And then 8 is joy. 7 is divine. 1 is perfection. All of those, because you are perfect the way that you are. I don't want you to think that you have to do something to be great or be perfect or be whole, and nobody is really perfect. But I'm saying as you are enough and amazing. But that growth process, that transformation, that journey is a constant, everyday event. And thank goodness it is. because I wouldn't want to be the person I was 10 years ago or even a year ago. I am so grateful for the journey and that transformation process, and allowing myself grace and allowing myself a chance to not be great and mess up and gather the lessons and continue on that journey, and that exercise of constantly looking for the opportunities to be better, to grow, to learn, to gain wisdom. And so, my loves, I just wanted to remind you that sometimes we think that it all has to happen at once, and because we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting or doing what we're supposed to be doing, that we're just not doing it right. And that's just not how it works. It's small, slow, practiced steps. And then it's like exercise is a great word, because it's like if you started a workout plan today and expected to be in the best shape of your life in a week, that just that's crazy talk, right? I mean, you would never say that. And so that's our journey. It's a long process, and it continues over time because our lives change and adjust. And so I want to encourage you on your journey that your transformation is perfect and is where it's supposed to be right now in this moment, and that I hope that you give yourself grace and that you are thankful for where you are, and that you will be open and present to what you have to learn to continue on that journey of transformation. All right, my loves, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And always, always know that you are loved.